There has been a dev Q&A about Season 7, and more specifically, it's actually about the PvP servers, and I think there's some information in here that you're going to want to pay attention to, so let's jump in. But first, a message from our sponsor, which is me. I'm plugging my own thing. Basically, I want to very quickly just show off this. It's a new type of armor weight calculator. I'll put the link in the description and I'll try and pin a comment. But basically, a lot of armor calculators, you effectively just try and maximize your weight by saying oh, I have a heavy piece of this and a light piece of that. And that's not what I use weight calculators for. What I really want is something where I say what I want to be, and then it pumps out the maximum weight and the maximum armor rating. So I'll just give you a very brief brief run through. Let's say I want to be medium with a round shield. Well, I can pick medium, I can click round shield, I click show matching combinations, and then it'll show me highest weight. Well, it'll show me all the maximum weights, and then it'll show me the total armor rating, because not all combinations are treated equally. Some are slightly better than others. But you can also use it like a normal calculator by, putting in your stuff here and it'll just give you the best combinations. You can also pick some of the artifacts. For example, let's say I wanted to look at this combination but with Void Darkplate. I would click it right there. I would click show matching combinations, and voila, there you have it. Link in the description. Check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are. I think it's probably the best armor calculator tool out there. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Right, I'll stop plugging my own thing. I think it's good though. The rest of the site is jank. It's all like a work in progress. I'll do Season 7 builds when Season 7's out. Right, so these questions, and we're on Discord. Discord is just a pain in the backside the way that it looks. I do apologize. It's good to use, but not really for this purpose. So the first question gets asked about is bots, and then New World Joel basically says this, that the leveling will be faster on the server and people are going to hit level 15 quicker, which means that people who are bots who are trying to stay under level 15 won't be able to, because they'll get XP quicker. They are going to concentrate a little bit on tier 2 resources, which on the Fresh Start servers like Iron was absolutely diabolical to farm, and so much of it was required. So I think Iron is an obvious bottleneck that they could possibly look at straight away. The fact that they're only monitoring it now is a bit of a concern. And obviously you could end up with bots who are trying to stay under level 15, trying to farm the Iron, which then means they can't be killed. They then say, if you see any bots, report the bots. But yeah, Iron's a concern for me. Bots staying under level 15, not something I thought about, but yeah, could be a worry. The next question is talking about how some of the rewards are going to work. And to be honest, we're not 100% sure, or maybe we'll get a little bit more informed here, in that there is going to be this new seasonal pass. Not a new pass, it's a seasonal journey, but you have to have bought the premium pass to get the rewards from it. Details on that still a little bit unknown right now, but what they say here is that there are multiple rewards on the seasonal server that can only be locked on that server. So there will be things you can't get if you don't play this server, which that's part of the reason the server is existing in the first place, I think. But they will carry over across your characters and to other servers. Then he basically says there's two ways to get these. One is from the seasonal journey with the season pass, which you have to buy if you want those rewards. And the other is through the leaderboard that is unique and specific to the seasonal servers. Now, are they the same rewards? I'm not sure about that. It doesn't really explain. Or are they just two types of rewards? I probably think that one might. I think it's just two types of rewards. Some you get from the leaderboard, some you get from the seasonal pass. The trophy you actually get from the leaderboards. Now, I'm probably not going to do these leaderboards. I suspect they're going to be toxic and just, hellish to farm. But that trophy will then give you PvP experience if you put it up in your house. Eventually, you'll be able to get that trophy on the non-PvP server, but that's where it's starting out. We kind of already knew that though. The next question is about the artifact grind on the PvP server. And he says that, whilst the Ethereal and Conqueror's gear is going to be good and may not fully replace it, we kind of expect you not wanting to get all of the artifacts, but there'll be some that you do want, and some players will go out and farm it. I think Finisher might be one that people do. Maybe Venom. I don't know. It depends if there's any kind of reasonable alternative in the Conqueror's gear and the Ethereal gear, I guess. But they give a little bit of a hint at the next themes. They say, without talking about the theme of the next seasonal world, which means we kind of are talking about it, but we're not going to say too much. They're looking into ways of building out this system and addressing the artifact thing going forward, and perhaps making them easier to get and automatically populating all of the perks. Could this be hardcore? Could this be self-found? Could be either of them, I guess. The next important statement is that the Ethereal and Conqueror's gear will actually drop in wars, but they're equally as powerful as they normally are. There's no hindrance to them, but they are going to drop. So if you take them, you're going to lose them, which is kind of funny, isn't it? Because are people going to be like just killing each other just to get the loot and then running off? Maybe go and hide if you've got all of somebody's loot? I mean, it's kind of a funny idea. It would probably be best not to actually wear Ethereal Conqueror's gear in a war because it would be so chaotic. But yeah, I mean, for the warloggers, I'm sure that's interesting. For me, I'll probably never do it. Now, the next one kind of had me worried when I started reading it. It's the Ethereal Conqueror's items are going to be usable in cross-server content such as expeditions, arenas, and Outpost Rush. And I was like, what? But then you actually see that, but all of the functionality is going to be turned off. So they're not going to be as strong, basically. You don't have to worry about it. They're not going to take durability, and they're not going to drop on death. This means it'll be relatively fair, as long as it works, obviously. That's an important part. And you can only transfer at the end. So in theory, there's nothing to worry about. In the short term, the artifacts that aren't artifacts, the Conqueror's gear, are actually going to be staying just on these worlds. Some of them might get reused at some point on a standard world, but they're not talking about that just yet. They're just playing around, and that's fair enough. I kind of feel like they could become artifacts at the end, maybe, possibly, if they work and they're good and they're fun and they're powerful and people like them. Next question, just a little bit of admin, I guess, is you can equip as many Conqueror's items as you want, but note that there's only one set of Conqueror's armor and the rest are weapons. And we kind of already know, I'm pretty sure the Conqueror's armor is actually heavy armor, and I think you already know it by default from what I remember from the previous article. The weapons are going to come from those caches, so is it the Animus caches? So yeah, interesting, it means that there's no light or medium, I believe. Or maybe the perk is the same, maybe there's nothing special about them. Not sure, we'll find out. The next question is all about leveling, and they mention here something that I didn't think about. Because you're actually going to be PvP flagged, which gives you an extra 10% XP, everybody's effectively going to be on 35% extra XP rather than 25 that the bonus is going to be. And they say we also modeled the time spent to make the ethereal dust boxes towards the time it takes to complete the MSQ. So I think it's meant to be the same kind of thing, that if you go gathering and crafting, you'll complete the game, or you'll get to max level the same kind of speed you would if you do the MSQ quest. Now, I kind of doubt that, especially as there's going to be like competition and PvP and all that kind of stuff, but that was the theory. Let's see if they actually execute it like that. The MSQ is obviously going to be like absolutely full of people, so whether or not you can even do it is going to be another question. But then there's going to be bottlenecks in the open world as well, so who knows? They do talk about leveling your trade skills. You're not really expected to get to the max. I think the max you actually need is 150, because that's what it's going to be to get the tier 5 ethereal gear, which is 725 gear. So, you know, you're not going to need to be max, but you are going to need to get there at least. It might be that we actually see a dedicated like arcana person, cooking person and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting, because, you know, normally in New World you just try and do everything yourself. Maybe that's not going to be wise on the PvP server. An important note here, the ethereal dust and the Rastones are bind and pick up and cannot be traded, but they do drop on death, which kind of means they could be traded, but not directly. I was going to say I wasn't going to explain how, but it's pretty obvious, right? If you had a level 15 alt on a different account or something, you could basically just kill yourself, pick up the stuff, and then go back on the character you wanted and have them kill you and then have them pick it up. I mean, hey, I'm just saying it's the workaround's right there, it writes itself. Anyway, you can, however, trade the items that are used in the ethereal dust, such as the ethereal gear or the base resources. Okay, I mean, don't think that's going to matter too much, but it is what it is. Not being able to trade it, but it dropping on death, to me basically means it's tradable, just a bit more awkwardly. The next question is basically about who can pick up the items, and effectively the answer is anybody can pick up the item. So let's say you kill me, which I suspect a lot of people will be killing me because I'm not very good. But let's say you kill me and I drop my items, somebody else could come along and pick it up before you get to me. And if they are level 14, then you can't kill them and they just have the stuff. You can't equip that loot because you have to be level 15 or 20, depending on if it's ethereal or conquerors. But they're aware of that issue. I don't think they're going to do anything. They're just hoping that people don't try and abuse it. Somebody might, but probably not worth the effort. Interestingly, the Conqueror's gear, by the way, can be crafted by any trade skill at any level. It's only the ethereal gear that you actually need to level up. This next one is actually pretty damn huge and very important to take note of. Every single drop on death item drops upon death. So let's say you have hundreds of ethereal gear in your inventory, that will drop. And that includes what is equipped, what's in your gear sets, and what's in your inventory. So it's literally everything. The only place you can put it to not drop it is in your inventory in a town, in the storage shed. So that's going to spice things up a hell of a lot. We kind of expected this one, but it's nice to have confirmation. You will not be able to PvP inside the sanctuaries. That basically means towns, outposts, and shrines. Basically, you'll be like flagged as you are in the game now, but when you go to a shrine or when you go to a town, you can't fight. Fair enough, makes sense. There's also a big change to how you pick your faction. You actually pick your faction at the character creator. Now this goes against a little bit of what they said in the article, because what they said is that you're PvP flagged from when you either pick a faction or when you're level 15. Well, you're picking a faction right at the very start, but I doubt you're going to be PvP flagged from the start. Maybe it's just a kind of weird backup. I don't really know. Maybe it's in case you can get faction flagged before you turn 15. Maybe there's a little quirk there that I'm not seeing. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's important to know you're going to pick your faction straight off the back. If you want to play with us on whatever server we're playing on, I'm going to be going the Purpley Boys. Link in the description to the Discord if you want to just, keep up to date with the information. Also in this answer, they say that there is going to be an additional character slot. We kind of already knew about that. But in general, they're not going to add a new character slot every single season. And they say they might do stuff where, like, let's say you level up your professions. Maybe in future season, it'll just be the leveling up from those professions that you transfer over. Or maybe it's like artifacts and trophies that you can transfer over. Basically, they're going to mess around with the kind of rewards that you get from the seasonal server, assumingly so they make it so it's worth doing. Little confirmation for those of you who are worried, there is going to be a seasonal world in each region. I'm kind of assuming there might be only one per region, but we'll see. They reiterate the fact here that the Conqueror's Gear and Ethereal perks won't work in Outpost Rush and Arena, but you actually can still play. I do think that it will ultimately still hurt cross-realm activities because you're going to need normal gear, and then the question is why are you even doing that when it's not even the powerful stuff? Like, does the game loop even make sense? But at least it's nice to know that you can cross-play just in case you need to, maybe for artifacts or something like that. Yeah, this has kind of disappointed me a little bit. They say factionless does not exist. We just mentioned it, how you have to pick your faction at the start. I was kind of assuming there would be some madhead who was going to try to get all the way to max by being PvP available with everybody, but that's not possible. Not much space here at the bottom, but they do say that the standard faction cooldown applies. Interesting stuff. Yeah, very interesting stuff. The fact you can play Outpost Rush, the fact that you can actually pick your faction at the start, the fact that everything in your inventory drops. That means you're going to be wanting to make like frequent trips back. Like if you get loads of items, you're not going to want to take them with you. You're probably going to want to leave a lot of it in your inventory in your town and then go out, and if you die, go back and pick some more up, and then if you die, go back and pick some more up. You're not going to want to just take everything with you. There'll be some people who have like loads of it on them, get killed, and they're like, no! And hopefully that's not me. That could be me. Also, check out my armor calculator. I just think it's really good. Like whenever I look at a tool, I've been like using New World Buddy or a spreadsheet, and I always want to know those kind of questions. I want to be like, okay, I want to be in medium armor with a kite shield using XYZ, right? And I can click it, and in theory, it will tell me what it is. It'll tell me the best combination. So for this weird combination here, it's not that weird, a kite shield with medium armor. There's 8 combinations, all of the max weight, some of them at different armor ratings. The armor rating here, I think I'm using gear score at 700 gear, so if you're wondering why it's different from elsewhere, that'll be why. Either way, I just think it's a really useful tool. I built it because it's kind of the tool that I want, and it will be useful if you're leveling. So let's say you wanted this exact build, but you also wanted to be like, oh, I want my hands to be a light armor. Boom, now you have only the light armor version of them. I think it's really cool. There'll be a link in the description. I said, have a beautiful day, like and subscribe. Goodbye.